I don't know. It'll all be predicated upon how well Terence can take his punch.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I'm not really worried about the weight. I'm worried about the skill level that they use during the fight.
Roy Jones Jr. stressed that stepping up to face Canelo Alvarez might be biting off more than Terence Crawford can chew, and also questioned Crawford's ability to handle Canelo's power. Furthermore, Roy Jones Jr. says he watches closely how both fighters carry their skill inside and outside the ring, and what stands out to him is a hungry Crawford. He sees a fighter who has waited a long time for his moment and is now fully ready to seize it.
I pay no attention to the pushing and shoving. I pay no attention to the weight factor. What I pay attention to is the skill level that both guys show in and out of the ring. And what I'm seeing is I see a hungry Crawford. A Crawford that has been looking for the opportunity for a long time, finally getting the opportunity, and really ready to grab the opportunity.
When it comes to Canelo, Roy sees a fighter who is no longer driven by hunger, but thrives on making big-name fights and putting on a show for the fans. He believes Canelo is the kind of fighter who shows up and handles business the right way, but warns that if Canelo strays from what works, the outcome could shift. In the end, it may all come down to how well Terence Crawford can handle Canelo's power.
And with Canelo, I see a guy who, not necessarily hungry, but loves to entertain. Loves to give us the big fights. Always tries to give the big fights. He finds a way to give us big fights. Not going to always win them, but he always tries to give them to us. So he'll be a guy that, if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point in his career. I don't know. It'll all be predicated upon how well Terence can take his punch.
Roy Jones Jr. further explained why the weight gap might not play such a big role in this matchup. He explained that when fighters as skilled as these boxers, knowing how to fight makes weight a less of a factor. In his view, what really matters is whether a fighter can absorb the punches that come with that extra size.
When you know how to box, when you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much. All thing that matters with the weight is, can you take the punch? And I'm sure you've been sparring with super middles and light heavies, so I'm sure you probably can take the punch. So that's the only thing when you got skill. Now, if you don't have a skill, you can't take the weight, take it up, because you're gonna lose your punch, you're gonna lose everything. When you got skill, all your stuff that you have goes up with you. You talk to the GOAT. I went out with a heavyweight. Yeah, well, you know, like I said, I'm not really worried about the weight. I'm worried about the skill level that they use during the fight.
In addition, Roy Jones stressed that Crawford needs to reach the full weight limit and add the necessary size for this fight, for if he does not, Crawford may get damaged, and getting injured at this age and this stage of his career could end Crawford's career altogether.
Bud, Canelo, you know, done deal, looks like the fight is signed. What's your thoughts on this fight, man?
Man, it's a great fight for boxing. I know people don't agree with it, but if Canelo fights one inkling of the wrong fight, he's gonna lose. If he comes out and fights the right fight, it's gonna be a tough one. So right now, I think it can go either way, but it depends on what type of fight Canelo fights.
You've been a guy that's in the weight class. How do you think Terence Crawford should handle the weight? Should he come in lighter? Should he come right around the weight limit?
Come in as big as he can get. If you get to the weight limit, because there is a weight limit, get to the weight limit.
In response, Terence Crawford showed that he is not worried about the weight difference by wrestling Jarrell Miller, who carries far more size. By handling himself against a much heavier man, Crawford is proving that extra pounds in the ring will not be a deciding factor for him in his fight against Canelo.
Yo, baby Miller, it's Crawford! I can't believe it!
Go for
Terence,
it.
don't hurt yourself. Terence, don't hurt yourself.
I don't want to fucking win here.
You got too much in you right now.
I don't want to win here.
Had your big ass.
I was going to pick you up.
No, you
I was
wasn't.
going to throw you to this.
You thought you was.
Let's try it again.
No.
How does he do against Canelo?
Building on that, Jarrell Miller is backing Crawford to stop Canelo and expects the fight to deliver plenty of action. He is picking Crawford with full confidence, saying he has never once doubted the power Crawford brings into the ring.
Let's stop him. It's going to be a good fucking fight. I'm picking Crawford.
Was he strong?
I always say that.
highlighting another moment where Terence Crawford showed off his strength by tossing Nico Ali Walsh, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, Showbiz the adult. He pointed out that Crawford's wrestling skills are no joke and reminded everyone that while he was trolling a bit, since this is still a boxing match, he still couldn't resist trolling here, as Nico is a middleweight and not a heavyweight, which he implied.
His wrestling skills is not a bad point. Listen, did y'all see this video where he tosses a heavyweight to the ground? Listen, dude, not only any heavyweight, this is Nico Ali Walsh. He got Ali's blood in him. And here's the thing. When I was clowning you guys and trolling, talking about he can wrestle, listen, bro, it's because it's a boxing match, okay? And it's not wrestling.
In addition, he stated that Crawford managed to toss Nico from a standing clinch, just like the kind you see in a boxing match, showing how he handled a heavyweight and turned a simple boxing hold into a show of raw strength.
When you look at his footage, he tossed Nico to the ground from a standing position. From a clinching position, he tosses down a heavyweight. The type of position you're clinching in a boxing match. Brother, Terence Crawford is extremely strong. The guy is extremely strong.
Sharing his side, Canelo states that it will be a good fight and he will also bring his best. He highlighted that he has faced this kind of challenge before, but did well because of the fighter he is. But Terence jumped in, reminding him he lost the fight and he is not as great as he claims.
I've been in his situation before, and I know, it's gonna be a good fight. Believe me, it's gonna be a good fight. I'm gonna bring my best. I know he's a good fighter, but this is just different. You know, you see what happens when a good fighter jump up and his opponent is great fighter. So you're gonna find out.
That means you're a good fighter and B-Raw is a great fighter, right? Right? Is you a good fighter or a great fighter? Let me know.
I'm a great fighter.
So you got your ass on
You're a
good fighter, right?
You're a good fighter.
I'm saying.
But I'm great.
Okay. So every time you stepped up, you lost.
However, Jamie Moore still holds firm on his stance that a good big man beats a good little man. He does not see Canelo as being on the decline just yet, but believes he is now on the downward slope of his peak years. Moore says his first instinct has always been that Canelo's size would be too much for Crawford, even though their skill levels match up closely. In the end, he is sticking with Canelo as his pick to win.
A good big un always beats a good little un. The only thing is, by no stretch of the imagination do I feel like Canelo's on the slide, but that sort of scenario where you feel like they've peaked and they're just coming down the other side of the mountain a little bit, I feel like he's there. So and I've seen a lot of people who I respect their opinions picking Crawford, and I'm like, oh, my initial instinct was always Canelo will just be too big for him, even though the sort of skill sets are quite equal. But yeah, again, I'm picking Canelo, but God, he's such a good fight because you really can't decide. The intrigue is Crawford going to be able to sort of cope with Canelo at that weight?
Disagreeing with that, Connor Ben believes Crawford might just pull it off, saying he is simply on another level. Ben sees Crawford as almost otherworldly and says that when you watch him work, you cannot help but respect the way he handles his craft.
I think Terence wins. Yeah. I do, yeah. I think he's just bred different. You know, he's an alien. He's one of them fighters you watch and you admire the work he does. He's just an all-round great fighter, lives it. You know, and when you hear about his story and what he stands for, it's incredible. With Crawford going up, I believe he can put a beating on anybody 154, 160.
But not 68.
Nah, Benavidez is.
Canelo. Yeah.
Oh, Canelo. I think he's a smart fighter. He doesn't rely on his power. Crawford ain't a fighter who just relies on his power. And then Canelo, you know, when he's fought Belenga, then fought Ryder, Munguia.
You're leaning towards.
The only thing for me is the hunger. Because I think Canelo, for his Crawford, for his legacy, wants it more.
Crawford's a dog too.
That's what I mean.
But that could be going against him because if he exchanges and doesn't box.
But Canelo's like he's done everything from young. How old was he when he fought Mayweather?
Oh, he was
21.
On the other hand, Chris Eubank Jr. made it clear he wants his crack at Canelo once Canelo is finished with Crawford, and he wraps up business with Conor Benn. Eubank sees that matchup as a fight that can be made and knows plenty of fans would want to see it happen.
That is a fight that I have been interested in from years. I think it would be an amazing fight in terms of stylistic matchup. And it's a fight that can be made now. It's a fight that the fans are asking to see. Canelo's expressed interest in fighting in the UK. So I think within the next 12 months, there is a strong chance that that fight can be made.
Agreeing with that, Chris Algieri states that if Eubank can get past Benn, and with Canelo showing interest in fighting in the UK, there is a real chance that the fight could become a reality.
If things go the way that the first one went, Eubank wins again, which is probably what most people assume is going to happen. He's going to be the favorite of the fight. He's getting Canelo, dude. There's going to be Chris Eubank Jr. fighting Canelo at some point. Canelo's probably going to go over to the UK. He's going to Wembley. He's going to fight him. It's just I'm telling you right now. Mark my words. Mark the calendar. You know, if Eubank wins again, he's going to be looking for that Canelo fight. He's already talking about it.
In addition, former IBF champion Raul Marquez believes Crawford might just surprise Canelo when they meet. Marquez feels Crawford's ability to control the pace and manage distance will play a huge role, and points out that Crawford's sharpshooting style, combined with his wrestling background, will give him an extra edge in the ring.
I think Canelo's going to be surprised at that, and Crawford, I think he's going to know how to dictate the pace of the fight and control the distance. He's a sharpshooter. I think his wrestling background is going to help him. He's a strong guy.
Yes. Raul added that he has seen Crawford fight bigger guys and watched him beat these opponents. Raul also expressed that he was impressed by how smart Crawford's boxing IQ is in those situations.
I've seen him spar with bigger guys. I've heard of him sparring with really big guys and doing well. He's a strong guy. Yeah. Boxing IQ, he's very smart. I think Canelo's, I don't know, he's slow on his feet, man. Even people say that Skull ran, but Skull is Cubano, the Cuban school of boxing. Yeah. What do you expect them to do? Yeah. That's the way they fight. So it was Canelo's job to cut off the ring, make that ring in half, and run him out of the ring. And that's what he's going to have to do with Crawford. If he is the bigger, stronger guy, which he should be because he's been there for a while, he needs to keep that distance close, run him out of the ring, cut the ring in half, make that ring small, have a good body attack. Of course, intelligent pressure.
In addition, Shane Mosley reflects on his time facing Canelo back when Canelo was still a young fighter, but already carried a wealth of experience both inside the ring and in life.
So fighting Canelo at 154, you know, he as a young kid, I think he was 21, 22 years old. He had a lot of experience, I should say. He had a lot of boxing experience at his age.
40 fights?
Huh?
He had 40 or 50 fights at that point, right?
40 or 50 fights, but not just that. I'm talking about experience as far as knowledge about being the real, experience. You know, like veteran experience. Like he knew how to counter, he knew how to block and counter, do different things. So it wasn't like he was just an ordinary fighter. And I was like, and fighting him, I'm like, wow. He actually knows how to get away from stuff. He knows how to counter. He knows how to trick shots up, and he knows how to do stuff, and for a young kid. So
Mosley offered Crawford some advice, saying he should stick to keeping his punches at long range and avoid staying in the pocket for too long, because that is exactly where Canelo can find openings and land big shots.
My advice to Crawford is probably to stay on your stick. You know what I'm saying? Keep the punches long range, trying to not to be in the pocket too much, because if you're in the pocket, that's when Canelo's gonna be able to catch you. But I'm not saying like that, and that doesn't mean moving around the ring like you have to jump around the ring. That just means just not being in the pocket too long, because Canelo's very fast.
Additionally, Teofimo Lopez long backed Canelo to get the win, but now admits Crawford might just find a way to pull something off. He points out that fans are eager to see how Crawford handles himself at this weight against a name like Canelo, and that curiosity makes the fight even bigger.
I'm gonna say I've been saying Canelo, but I think Crawford might pull something. You know
why?
I think that the odds are in his favor as far as that. You know, the reason why people are going to tune in is not just because of Canelo. It's going to be mainly because of the Crawford. How is he going to do going up, you know, 2 more weight classes? You know, especially after the Madrimov fight that he had in, last year? I think that's the problem, though. Crawford is fighting too many. He's not fighting a lot. He's fighting once every year.
Teofimo also weighed in on the criticism Crawford gets about his resume, saying people will always have doubts because many of his past opponents have not been the most impressive names on paper.
I mean, because everybody will, right? All right, who have you beaten? And
isn't everyone's resume can be questionable though? Like,
no.
If you really look at it and break it down and like.
No, it's just I think what Canelo's really tapping into is mainly like, who is it that you faced that's been at number 1? You know, other than Errol Spence. You know, I think Sean Porter, we can't take anything away, but Sean Porter was on the way on the decline. The same way for Amir Khan. You know, those guys weren't the same.
However, Paul Smith Jr. says that if he had to choose pressure, he would still pick Canelo, believing the bigger man usually beats the smaller man. But he also admits that in this case, the smaller man, Crawford, is pure quality and cannot be counted out easily.
Yeah, definitely. Thought that before this fight, to be honest with you. I'm not writing Canelo up. I think if you put a gun to my head and I had to put my mortgage on one of them, I'd probably pick Canelo still. But there's Crawford's a very, very, I can't even say live underdog because I'm not sure if he will be on fight night. You know, but it's one of them fights. I think that the big un should beat the little un, but the little un is absolutely quality in Crawford, and it's one that I can't wait to see. I'll be very interested in the build up, the fight week, and to see if the respect stays there, because the respect levels are so high, and they should be, as they should, because they're both brilliant fighters.
He adds that he sees this fight playing out more like a chess match than an all-out war, and believes it will be one that true boxing purists will really appreciate. He stated that the fight will be much like the rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, but with little action and decisive hits.
But I can see it being like a chess match, and only like a chess match. It's not going to be a war as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, and I think it's safe to say it's not going to be. I think it could be one for the purists. You know, and I'm not going to say it's going to be a bad fight or a boring fight, but it's going to be. I thought Beterbiev Bivol won. I thought that was like a chess match. It was fantastic watching. It was edgy as seat for me as a boxer, an ex-boxer. I couldn't take my eyes off it, and I was engrossed in it. But it wasn't a bloodbath, and it wasn't a big tear up like everyone was expecting. But as soon as the bell went, I'd watch that again straight away. I'd watched that 3 times, and I think they'll all be like that type of fight. I can see this one being similar, being more of a chess match, you know, less blood and guts, less.
Furthermore, Showbiz the Adult addressed Crawford's weight narrative, stating that it does not hold value, especially considering Canelo's history. He stated that he may have lost against Bivol, but had won against Sergey Kovalev when he did his first weight jump.
I don't think it was a strong point because Canelo Alvarez actually moved up and won. I mean, he moved up a lot of weight classes, but if you want to talk about light heavyweight, he moved up and he beat Kovalev. He knocked Kovalev out the first time he moved up. Then he moved up again, and he lost to Bivol.
At the end of the day, this showdown isn't just about size, it's about legacy, risk, and whether Terence Crawford's pound-for-pound greatness can withstand the raw power of a seasoned superstar like Canelo Alvarez.
Terence Crawford, on the other hand, he moves up to 154. He won 115, 113, but it was against an 11-0 Madrimov who didn't really have much of a resume. So, I mean, it's just different. Let's be honest, Madrimov, you can't really name who's his biggest wins.
No matter whose corner you're in, this fight has all the makings of a modern classic that could redefine the fighter's legacy. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss a beat. Comment down below whether you think Crawford can handle Canelo's power at 168, or if Crawford will prove the doubters wrong, and we will see you in the next video with more fighting updates.